Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Away Set on Gallagher Shots with me, Andy, looking ahead to the game against Southampton on Saturday night. Off the back of a massive win against Leicester, which just about puts us safe, but we do just need those last few points to make it sure. Similar to our next opponents in Southampton, who are probably just about there, but they do just need those extra few wins under the belt. Looking ahead to the game, joining me is Freddie from the Ugly Inside podcast. Thanks for coming on, Freddie.
Hi, mate. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. Would you agree with the assessment there that both teams probably safe, but we do just need to basically not blow it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, the trouble that we had last season is that we were relying on there to be three worst teams. The fact that we've done our job this season and actually picking up points and becoming one of the formed teams in the division right now, I think 4 points might do it for us. Ralph has set a target for 40 points. We're almost there. A point at the weekend, a win against Bournemouth, and I think the West Ham and Huddersfield games could well be dead rubbers.
Yeah, how do you see that fight going? I think a lot of Newcastle fans have kind of accepted that we are safe, but there is that little niggling thought every time Cardiff get another win that you think, God, you never know what could happen with this. I mean, I think Brighton personally are getting dragged into it because they've been abysmal. I don't know how you see it going yourself.
Yeah, I think it's to be honest, it's between those two. Brighton looked almost secure of their, I suppose, future earlier at the turn of the year, but they went on this, like I said, abysmal run. I think they won their first game the 1st of March in 2019, and I think since then they've only won once more in the league, and they are absolutely free falling.
Yeah.
They're dropping like a brick in the swimming pool. It'd be unfortunate to lose either one of those, Brighton or Cardiff, because it's a brilliant away day, to be fair. But Cardiff looks like they've got more fight and steel about them. Neil Warnock has really got them riled up. And they've been, we were talking just off there a moment ago about being shafted so many times over the couple of years, but Cardiff has been shafted so many times this season, referee decisions going against them. So they're doing their best, really, in what is a sort of an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, they might just have. I just don't think they'll have enough. I mean, you talked there about not having any bite. I think you could probably say that about Southampton first half of the season. I mean, Mark Hughes just seems to steal a living every season. You've obviously, I think you've almost like doubled or tripled your points per game since he's gone. How would you kind of assess the Southampton season overall? Because it's been a funny one.
Yeah, a bit of a seesaw, really, if you like. So Mark, the up until December, whilst Mark Hughes was here, we only thought there was only one direction. That was down to the Championship. I think he only won sort of one game against Crystal Palace in September, and the football was largely forgettable. And I think he was basically playing the game trying not to lose. And it bit us back so many times, so many times we went up to take a lead, throwing it away so easily, so pathetically as well. It has to be said that we had no sort of fight or determination in our squad whilst Mark Hughes is still here. Thankfully, the board pulled the trigger when we, at a suitable time before Christmas. We always knew it was going to be a tough task for Ralph, and we sort of exampled that in his very first week with a defeat at Cardiff. Again, which is an individual mistake, which let us down that day. There were so many under Mark Hughes, but since then, Ralph has really sort of revolutionised the team, really. And, we're playing without fear. We're playing with expressive, kind of attacking, free-flowing football at the moment, despite, actually allowing the oppositions to have more possession of the game. We're more patient on the ball. We're taking our chances more. We're more clinical. And we're really loving it at the moment. We're riding this roller coaster, and let the love affair continue, I say.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I think that when I looked at Southampton when they were really struggling, it really reminded me of our team under the later Pardew years in McLaren, where I could just imagine being a fan in your end thinking, where are we even going? It doesn't look like we're going to score. Everyone's rolling over us every week. And it's interesting how you've kind of gone with the more expressive manager. And we obviously went with Rafa, who isn't known for expressive football, but equally has revolutionised the team. And we've now become just tactically so resolute and fantastic. And we've just got 11 players who are willing to just graft their ass off for the team. What would you say is that? Do you think there's going to be a bit of a conflict in styles when the two go up against each other?
I suppose at the weekend, I think there's two sort of styles. I suppose Rafa Benitez is more of a what's the word I'm looking for? I suppose he wants to. I suppose
I'd call him a bit of a puppeteer. He's trying to move everyone around constantly, whereas I get the impression Ralph is a bit more go and do your thing and enjoy yourself.
I think that certainly we've seen the freedom back in the players, especially for Saints this season. I think perhaps three players in particular have really sort of flourished under Ralph, and he's really been giving them the freedom to express themselves on the pitch, as well as fitting within the philosophy. We've seen this high press system. We've seen and we've had so much great success over it since we've been here. We're pressing the team higher at the pitch. We're forcing players into errors, which are leading to goals. And the three players in particular that are excelling under Ralph are Nathan Redmond, James Ward-Prowse, and actually Pierre-Emile Højbjerg has been fantastic. All equally fantastic. So it's going to be a close race for player of the season. And the fact that sort of Ward-Prowse never really had a look in under Mark Hughes, Nathan Redmond didn't score under Mark Hughes either. It just really goes to show how well and how much of an influence Ralph has been on this side.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Ward-Prowse wouldn't get in a team, because I imagine he's one of those players where he looks better on highlights, but he always just looks amazing. And it's interesting that those three players you mentioned, I believe they're all midfielders. I'm not sure about Højbjerg, but where we've struggled this season has been when a midfield has just completely rolled over us. Certainly the last sort of couple of away games, other than Leicester, where it was Arsenal and West Ham, where the midfield just ran through us every time. Do you see that being a big strength for you going into this game? Your midfield maybe getting on top of our lot? Yeah,
so actually the midfield have stepped up a gear recently, I suppose, whilst some of our strikers haven't been scoring. And I'll get to Shane Long in a moment, starting to become a superstar striker now that Ralph has said something in his ear. But I suppose if you want to highlight Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, he and actually Oriol Romeo, aren't afraid to put the foot in, aren't afraid to really ruffle some feathers. Their approach is really combative, and actually we've seen Pierre-Emile Højbjerg actually run up from box to box relentlessly. Actually, I want to highlight sort of some of his runs. Really, he's running into the near post between defenders, and a prime example was that when he managed to get a head on the ball, a little flick on between Van Dijk and Matip the other week against Liverpool, and set Shane Long up for the goal. I also want to highlight his runs from deep. Playing a 1-2, linking up well with the wide players, and actually sort of not afraid to put the ball away. He scored 2 or 3 times this season, twice against Brighton. That amazing goal at the beginning of the season.
I remember that, yeah.
From about 30, 40 yards. Yeah. We've actually got a close goal of the season competition this season, quite frankly. We've scored so many good goals, and 2 of those goals coming at Old Trafford with Valerie and Ward-Prowse. But I suppose if you want to highlight some of the others as well, Nathan Redmond's playing with his head up, cutting in on his left, out on his right, and actually scoring some goals too. And Shane Long, let's go back to him, I suppose. I don't know what Ralph has said, but he sprinkled some stardust on him or something in training, because he's now scored 2 goals. And we give him so much stick about how often he doesn't score, yet he's gone on to score 2 back-to-back goals. The last
2
time
whole goals.
2 actual goals in the Premier League.
Well, I saw this amazing stat with him where he'd scored his last 4 goals were all under 4 different managers. It was something stupid like that. Was that what it was?
Yeah, that was bang on. It was obviously Ralph, Pellegrino, Hughes, and Claude Puel. And actually the goal that he scored for Claude Puel, that was in the semi-final against Liverpool almost 3 years ago. So it goes to prove his scoring record.
He's been around a while.
He has been, he's pushing 32 now, so he's one of the elder statesmen in the squad. But whatever Ralph said to him, long may it continue. And I actually I meant that pun, by the way.
Yeah, very good. So you mentioned Shane Long. I think most of the time when I've done these episodes, most people, when I've talked about Newcastle's strength, it's been up front as well. A lot of people talk about Rondon and obviously new signing Almiron, and then Jose Perez, who seems to have just been around forever now. When you look at Newcastle's team, is that where you see the strengths for us up top?
Yeah, so Rondon is a key figure, obviously. There was a bit of doubt about our right wing back, Jan Valery, for this weekend. Came off with a knock against Wolves at the weekend, but it seems like he'll be okay. So it seems like Ralph might be setting up with a 3-4-2-1. and Vestergaard as well, our big sort of 6'7" strapping centre half, is also a doubt. So there could be weaknesses in the air, and we've actually suffered with that over the seasons, really. So Yoshida, Stevens, and Bednarak could possibly be the three. But having said that, he may even revert back to the 4-2-2-2. I don't think Ralph will favour Jack Stevens at right wing back. He's obviously a centre half, and he's almost in some unnatural positions last week when he came on replacing Valerie. So Rondon, big threat, I suppose, and Iosi Perez, a sort of nippy kind of centre forward running in between, sort of the defenders. And I suppose we need to be on our game and really keep Rondon quiet, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I looked at this because I could not remember for the life of me how the reverse fixture went, and I saw that it was a terrible 0-0. So I think it will be close again. I do think there'll be goals this time around. If I had to ask you for a prediction, what would you be saying this time?
So the game earlier this season, largely forgettable.
We didn't have a single shot on target, I saw, unless my stats were wrong, but pretty grim.
Well, I suppose that tells the entire story, doesn't it, really? And I think we had so many draws under Mark Hughes, so that isn't something that is extraordinary. But I suppose if I touch on last season's performance at St James's Park, it was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in watching Southampton. I think Kennedy scored 2 on the day, one within a minute, and Ritchie from the edge of the box. So many individual errors as well. And within half an hour, we knew it wasn't going to be our day. It was pathetic. There was players tumbling, slipping around everywhere, leading to goals. And actually that sort of sent Pellegrino packing the next day. So thankfully, that performance last year finally got rid of Pellegrino. I think it'd be a totally different story this time round. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Ralph has revolutionised the club. We're playing without fear. And I think, we're one of the form teams in the division right now. 4 wins in the last 6. We're starting to pull away. I think a point apiece would be quite fair. I think I can see ourselves scoring. And Shane Long has never scored in 3 games in a row in the Premier League. So let's go for Shane Long to score. And
the lofty heights of 3 goals in a season.
3 goals in as many games, in fact.
Many games, yeah.
And I think, Newcastle are doing well at the moment. A point for you will see you safe as well.
Yeah, I think before we came on, I kind of thought score draw. I mean, it passed me by how well you had actually done the second half of the season, and both of us have had a big resurgence. So I think we're both quite reasonable. I think score draw is probably fair this time around. Would you say the same thing? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it surely has to be. Anything has to be better than last season's performance.
Well, I hope so. But yeah, that's about it, really. Are you going to the game?
I can't make it, unfortunately, but we are taking a sold-out support. So, it'd be like watching Ant-Man and the Wasp in the stands up there. The Ant-Man, obviously, the boys in black and white, and we'll be playing in yellow. So, I don't know. There's another one.
Nice. There's a good podcast title. Thanks for coming on once again. I think score draw is probably fair, but if there is any Southampton fans having a listen, safe travels up there. And thanks for coming on again.
Great stuff. Thanks for having me, mate.
Cheers, mate.